Hall Space Podcast. It's about connections. I'm your host, Dr. Ritch Hall, and this is a weekly conversation about whatever and however I see to connect things. For people who want to connect, chat, and learn a thing or two about a thing or two. Without further ado, let's start the show. Hello.
Hey there.
Hey out there in the world.
Welcome back.
Welcome to the Hall Space Podcast.
And if this is your first time,
welcome.
Hi.
Yes, I'm Dr. Ritch Hall. I'm your host of the Hall Space Podcast. Here with my lovely and capable wife, Nicole Hall.
Hi.
And this is the Hall Space Podcast.
What episode are we on?
We are on episode 15.
Nice.
Episode 15. So
nice.
15 hours of us doing this talking thing.
A lot of hours, yes.
A lot more seasoned than when we began.
Yep.
Yeah, getting better at this, but also still a lot to learn, I will definitely say.
Yeah, there's always more to learn. Recently we were talking about seasons, like how does that work? What are we going to do?
Yes, how do we transform the seasons? Nicole's got some big ideas.
I do.
She ends up having some big ideas. So we got some ideas for what's going to happen in season 2.
Yep. Well, and we agreed that we should do seasons. I mean, these episodes aren't
necessarily sequential or serialized.
No, they're not. We're not episodic at all. I mean, you can listen to 10 or 1 or 2 or 7. Doesn't matter.
I think it helps to start from the beginning because there's a lot of in-jokes that are going to make more sense if you've heard every episode, because there's a little sprinkling of, oh, this is why they're like that. Or this is why.
Yeah.
I'm in that way that I know as a person, I am I grow on you kind of person. Like, the more you know me, the more I'll make sense.
Samesies.
Yeah. And in the initial, you might be like, what's up with this guy? Like, I make a lot of assumptions.
Yeah.
You might not find yourself able to really fully handle the. I could be acidic on the palate at first, and then you're like, no, I think I get him. That's why he's got this particular weirdness.
I don't think that's true. I think you explain yourself well each episode. So there's depending on the topic.
I'm working on it.
They'll get it. Now, what I will say is, the more episodes you listen to, the more you get to know us.
Yeah, right? I do get that impression.
Yeah. I mean, in that way that we do grow on you, right?
Yeah, I think.
But the order of that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I will say, as far as milestones go, 700. We've had 700 listens so far. Now, not all of those are people who've listened to all the episodes, and I'm sure 100 of those are just me checking the episodes online.
Fine.
Because I listen to them myself. I definitely haven't listened 100 times, but somewhere around 50 times is just me listening to every episode, just checking to see what the sound quality's like once it's uploaded and things like that.
I believe those numbers depend on the kind of algorithm that they have. So if you're doing those listens from the same IP and they're tracking it
might not count.
Then it may not count.
Yeah, it says we have like 40 people who regularly listen.
Do they? So they're going to identify
40 different IPs.
Yeah. Individual listens, unique listens,
listens that listen to multiple episodes.
So if we have 700 listens, how many of those are unique, or are those the unique ones?
Relatively unique, and then, like I said, 35 to 40 are regular
listeners. Those who have listened more than one.
Yeah. So
I mean, I know I'm getting down into the nerd hole there, but I'm interested in how they do those calculations. But numbers, that's how that works.
No. Hey, algorithms. Our world is run by algorithms. They use math on us to figure us out.
They do
to predict to sell us and what's going on with us.
And what will work.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's our topic today.
Our topic is technology.
Our ecosystem and how we keep introducing new technologies into that ecosystem.
Yeah. Having kids in 2020 means they are going to be leaps and bounds ahead of where we were when we were children. I mean, to us, the what was the most technological thing in your childhood that you had access to?
Their very first time as a child.
Yeah, like what was the biggest piece of technology when you were growing up?
Oh, the internet.
Well, I mean,
Before
the internet
the
was
internet?
teenager. Yeah, before the internet. Like when you think Roz is 10.
Roz 10.
So at 10, what piece of technology do you really have access to?
Game Boy.
Was Game Boy around when we were 10? I remember
Boy.
Nintendo was for sure.
Game Boy came out. It was before I met you.
Well, it had to have been because I didn't meet you at 10.
We got it. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. We got it during the summer when I was a teenager before I started to do the summer program. That's how I remember.
So high school or middle school? Okay.
Middle school. That's
Okay,
why I
that
said it
makes
was
sense.
before I met you,
Yeah.
because it was during that same summer because we had one and we had to share it.
Yeah.
So my brother and my cousin and I was living with my cousin. We had the Game Boy. What was it for you?
I feel like, so my mom refused to buy Game Boys. She felt like they were too expensive a toy to give to a child, even though that's literally their whole point. And that speaks to the differences between now and then.
Right.
Because now, our sons have
We just
Kindle
buy
Fires. They've got an Xbox in their room. Like they've got a TV. Like they're well advanced what my parents were willing to spend on on our entertainment as children.
But we indulge because we also use those similar. We also have Fires. You also have an Xbox. Like, these are things that we're like, well, we enjoy it. We understand how you can enjoy it.
To it. Yeah.
Like nobody played the Game Boy but us.
Yeah.
And it was. Yeah. And let me to be clear, Lillian wasn't buying Game Boys either. Okay. My uncle went out on a splurge and he bought one for Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah.
For Will and said that he had to share with my brother and I.
Yeah.
And that's how they got us in a car to drive to Florida. Okay. And that's how they survived us. So, and I get that as a parent now. Go on and take this thing and be quiet back there.
We had those little electronic games, like that little baseball game with the lights.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Or the football game. I remember playing that football game a lot. Like,
those you could get at like Family Dollar. And
that little pin light man down the thing without getting tackled. I remember spending so much time. And then the baseball game.
Little handheld.
I remember those. My Uncle Ron, who actually does live in Cincinnati. And so we visit him in the summers and he had those games. And he had, Amora and Anicia were around then at that point.
They were little.
They were little. Yeah. So it was like some of this was like this kind of thing. So I remember having computers in my junior high. I took a computer class.
You had one in your junior high. I was going to say, did you have one at home?
Not at home. We didn't get one at home until I was in high school. So my second or third year of high school, I felt like my sophomore year I was on the internet. I definitely was by my junior year because I won a competition for computer programming, not for computer programming, but for computer animation.
Yeah.
And I don't know where, it's always funny. There was a time where that was like a big deal to me. Like I won this thing and then I thought about going into computer animation and then found out that it was a lot more math than I was willing to do back then because it wasn't, this is before like AutoCAD was just on the scene. Like I actually won
the more math you know, the better, though. Yeah,
that's what they say. A lot of it was done by math. Nowadays, you could be a computer animator without knowing very much math at all. You just got to think in terms of vectors and basic human physics. But back then, it was the way it was taught in college was all math.
Yeah.
Whereas I was just good with moving things around. Like I was basically more of a graphic designer than an animator. But anyway, so I had a computer in my room in high school. And I was obsessed. Like I made some little mini cartoons that are probably still on. I've got 3.5 millimeter hard drive discs or hard discs.
Oh, you got those 3.5 hard?
Yeah. And
discs.
I've got like a box of them somewhere in this house. And
you would have to buy I
would have to buy a separate drive to be able to read those and pull those videos off because I made all these because I was saving, I knew to save. These are my elements. So this is the spaceship I created out of basic geometry. Like I was trying to basically the same technology they used to make the movie Tron. I was working with on a rudimentary level.
Well, what's interesting about that you have the love of that is that right now, the boys are creating via Roblox Studio.
Yeah.
They're creating little worlds and buildings.
Yeah, Richie came in and asked me that. He was like, did you ever work on the computer and create things in the computer? And I didn't, at the time, I was like not sure what he was talking specifically about video games and I've never tried to create, like with any real obsession, tried to create my own video game. But I definitely would have seen myself, had that technology been available to me, would definitely have done so. But I mean, back then it was like I was playing like Police Quest and Knight's Quest, which were these little, you tell the little guy what to do and he walks around the little room.
Oregon Trail.
Yeah, but definitely played Oregon Trail. I remember my friend David Glassford was the first person I knew who had a Nintendo, so we'd go over his house after school and play it. I remember once he got in trouble because he didn't go upstairs. This is probably a story he might not remember or even want anyone to know out loud. But I remember he came in and we immediately like boot up. We just would go in, boot up the thing, and then get to playing.
It's nothing else matters.
Right, nothing else matters. Well, he didn't go in and like check in with his mom, and so he like goes upstairs finally and says something to her, and she like flips out. She flips all the way out. Like, you didn't even come check to see if I was okay. Like, we got kicked out that day.
So he came into the house. Yeah. He brought his friends over.
Right. And
you can't even come say hi, mommy.
Right. And this is back in the 80s. So he got knocked out. He got knocked around a bit. We heard him get like, we were like sitting in the living room like, oh shoot.
If you could have blended into the background.
Could have blended into the background. You get that like, it's me and another guy just looking at each other like, oh shoot.
Because we all know if you're in somebody's house and one gets in trouble, you could get in trouble too.
Yeah, well, I could have caught that fade too.
Listen,
like I didn't want any of that smoke. Like I didn't do, ma'am. If I had known,
it's called being complicit.
If I had known the rules of etiquette at this house,
now I'm gonna call your mama. Now she gonna beat you too.
Right. Because this is back when that could have happened.
That community love.
It's interesting now because where I'm from was Dunbar, West Virginia. It's a very small little area in West Virginia. Like it was such a small, like everyone. It wasn't that everyone knew each other, but a lot of people knew each other. Mm-hmm. And I often worry, like where we are now, we don't know our neighbors really at all.
No.
And you say hi to people when you see them, they're relatively nice, but is this suburban white area where we're very kind of separated from a lot of commerce and you feel like I get the impression that some people in this community are engaged with each other. You see people talking amongst themselves, but but there isn't a ton. I mean, when we walk this cul-de-sac, everybody sort of keeps to themselves,
lives their lives.
Yeah.
I know that when we first moved in here and I was outside with the kids, I've met all of our neighbors and I've talked with them. I've talked with Miss Kim, who's
she's a cop.
She's a detective.
Sheriff.
Yes. I would love to hear the stories.
You want to hear detective sheriff stories?
There's Mr. Bob. Listen, I would bend her ear if she let me. Okay?
Yeah.
Super nice lady.
Yeah. I always wondered if that's because we're black. Like, are they just don't have any frame of reference to engage with us?
No, I think, but you're usually working. Mm-hmm. So she comes out at a specific time of the day. Mm-hmm. So I would come home after picking the kids up from school and we would hang out in her yard every day during the fall season.
Yeah, I rarely ever see her at all.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just being out and available.
It's being out and being available.
They're not going to come knock on your door.
And the lady across the street from her,
the lady with all the flowers.
Yes. She's a nice lady too. She would come over and hang out with us. And so this was like right before Halloween, right after the summer, because we wouldn't really see her during the summer either. But fall time, every year during the fall, we were outside, we'd be walking, the kids would want to play after school. We would chat.
So maybe they're nicer to you. Which is not
well, you're
strange.
Just not you're not randomly standing outside I am.
I'm also aloof. I do recognize that my general aloofness means that most times people give me a very wide berth, which I'm okay with for the most part because I'm in my head, like I don't need to interact.
Yeah.
But I was saying that to say that like we were watching the Kev on Stage last night and he was talking about growing up poor, and I think that does tie into what we're talking about here with like what technology were we exposed to. Some of that was because we were poor. Like one kid had a Nintendo for most of my childhood in West Virginia. Yeah. I didn't get one until I moved to Cincinnati, which was in middle school, right?
Right.
And no, I got one in middle school right before moving here because I had a PlayStation by the time we moved here, or I got one soon after we moved here because the technology was growing in leaps and bounds.
And that was a big deal.
Yeah, but I remember growing up in West Virginia, it was all me and all the other poor kids, and we weren't necessarily in a black neighborhood. Actually, we were the only black kids for blocks. Poor kids, but it was all poor kids, and we interacted with a lot more kids because usually when you're in a poorer neighborhood, there are a lot more children. It's crawling with children. I feel bad about our kids growing up here.
They're growing up differently.
We grew up to get a really nice house and a really nice neighborhood.
I'm doing
air quotes with a yard and all that. This sort of suburban American dream.
Yep.
But their access to other children is limited. And I see that a lot in working with kids, and it's like
There's so
you're in these neighborhoods where kids are just not as prevalent.
Yeah.
Or there is a kid, but they're like 6 blocks over.
They're too far out for us to say you can go across the street 2 streets over and I'd be okay with it.
At this age.
Yes,
Now they'll be a little bit older.
They'll be old enough soon enough.
Yeah, that you could trust.
Because 2 streets over, there are a ton of kids and they all go to the school. And I think that will change, post-COVID when they're walking to school themselves, because they're going to walk to school themselves and they'll catch, if
by the time they're allowed to go back to school full time without any fear of consequence, they'll be able to walk to school independently and come home independently.
And they will pick up friends or drop off friends along the way like we did.
Back in the day, we just did that when we were, like, I was doing that in grade school. Like, I was doing that at
second
and third grade. We were walking to school by ourselves.
Yes. When we moved in with my grandparents, my mom walked us to school that first time so that we knew where to go.
Yeah.
It was a straight shot for the most part. Probably 1.5 miles, 2 miles. She did it that one time and that was it.
Yeah.
And from there on, we knew where to go. We knew how to go.
Such a different time. And
speaking of,
when did I go? I started at Dunbar Elementary School at age, I'm trying to remember what age. I know I went to a different school for first and second grade, I think. And I think I started at 3rd grade, but I always remember walking to school. I lived on 18th Street. The school was at 0 Street, like 1 street, 1st Street.
Right.
And so I walked 18 blocks to school by myself and was expected to get, me and my brother back.
That's how.
At like 3rd or 4th grade.
Yeah, I was 9. Well, I was younger than that.
I walked 18 blocks to school in the snow.
Uphill.
Like, genuinely.
Both ways.
Yeah.
Well, I think depending on, I moved a lot before we moved in with my grandparents. And so most of the time it was just me getting my brother to the bus stop because we had to. Yeah, we didn't have a bus. We had to take the bus.
Until I got here.
Because it was further from where we were living. But, speaking of poorer kids living in poorer neighborhoods, there's definitely a big difference. Like you said, we're here on this street. We could live in our house, in our backyard, in our front yard, and never have to interact with anyone on the street.
Yeah.
But I grew up in a poor neighborhood. We lived in, tenement housing. And one of the things that I loved about it as a kid was that there was always somebody outside to play with. Always. Yeah. All day and all night. Right, wrong, and different. That's what it was.
There was access.
To all these kids because they're parents. They're trying to take care of their kids. It costs a lot of money to do that.
Yeah, they got to work.
This subsidized housing works.
I mean,
for everybody.
We were genuine latchkey kids back then.
Oh, yeah.
Their parents were off to work, and we were allowed.
Given a key.
Yeah.
We were told to wait. And then were you told to wait with someone, or there was an adult around in the neighborhood who was trusted somebody's going to know you're there. If you have to go inside, if it's raining. If we needed to go inside, the neighbor next door knew that we would always be sitting outside waiting. And she was always very nice about that. So they may have made an arrangement, with her.
Yeah, the idea that there were more people that were like, there was a community that felt itself responsible to take care of children.
There was always, I tell you what, anytime we were outside and we kind of looked unattended or we needed something, or if it was raining or something, there would be somebody,
Yeah.
But there were always tons of kids to play with. Now, there are also a number of things that you see and that I saw during that time that I don't want my kids to see or be privy to.
Some things.
I was exposed to a lot of things.
I wasn't necessarily. I know that in growing up in that way, we got into a lot of, like, there was definitely a lot more like fighting and
but with kids and
that's a lot of the kids stuff. That happens. But I was never really like exposed to too much. Well, I take that back now. I was exposed to some adult materials. There's some
adult things that happen. Adult fighting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of abuse. There's a lot of drugs. There's a lot of.
So I was not exposed to drugs. Alcoholism, definitely.
Yeah.
No drugs. You go to this kid's house who it's like the freest kid and then you go to his house and you find out, oh no, this house smells like beer all the time.
Yeah. They're getting high upstairs and they don't care. Okay.
Yeah, no, it was just beer in my neighborhoods in the 80s in Dunbar. It was just beer. It's probably a lot more meth and heroin now, but
yeah, which is the more dangerous stuff.
Back then, it was not that. It was just beer. Beer and dog piss. It's one of the two of the things that I remember.
You know what? I used to think it was dog piss. I don't know that it wasn't kid piss.
No, they had dogs.
Oh, they had dogs. Yeah. Okay, because I was going to say everything smelled like pee in the hood. So there was the mattress, like when when Lauryn Hill put that song out, she said,
"Jump in the ghetto on the dirty mattress."
Boy,
yeah, she was talking.
We had that empty field with that mattress, and we loved that thing.
Yeah. I never had that experience.
We would jump in and then we would nap on it and all that kind of stuff.
God, no.
Oh yeah, no.
No. We were like creek kids, or we'd go down by the river and throw things in the river.
So we didn't have rivers.
We had the river. I lived literally 2 blocks from the river. I keep meaning to take the kids back to like, this is my street. That was my old house.
Yeah.
And this is how you get to the river from where I'm at. And you could literally walk. And what's funny is like, I have parts of my memory where I forget
that you could do that from your house.
You literally could walk to the river from my house.
Okay.
Like I don't know if you remember 203 18th Street, but there's a street, there's like 2 houses and then the street.
Yeah.
There's a street that's facing over there, right?
Right.
On the other side of that street, like my street, that street ends.
Okay.
Behind that's the river.
Seriously?
Yeah. And I always forget it. Like that's one of those details of like
there
when you think,
in 18th Street.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's a block away from the river.
I didn't realize that.
You forget it, like, because we just lived next to it. We knew. You can't really see it
from there when you're standing on the... It was one of those things
that, like, when you live next to a river, your parents tell you do not go to the river, so you just don't think about it every day. But we were building forts in the backyard.
If I had known that, I would have walked to the river every time we went over to see Addison. Yeah.
It's hilarious. Yeah, no. It's literally right there. The river that we go over the bridge when we're going to South Charleston. No, the river is right behind us. The Kanawha River is right behind you all the time. You hear barges at night. You hear the trains.
Oh.
So that's why I never minded living by the train when we were in Hartwell, because to me trains that's the sound of my youth.
Right. And we were kind of almost the same length maybe to the train tracks when we were living
in Hartwell.
Yeah,
because I was 2 blocks from the train tracks.
Yeah. And so some of this for us is very nostalgic. Right?
Yeah.
We remember
it was definitely a different era.
It's a different era.
Because there was no sitting in the house watching TV.
No.
There was no.
If you had a TV, it was a one TV, and Mom was watching her stories. So
my parents both had master's degrees. We had 2 TVs.
Oh.
I feel like they had one in. Did they have one in their room, and then we had one in the family room?
We had one floor model.
We had one floor model in the family room for most of our life, but at some point they got a TV in their room. And then I got a TV in my room in like high school. I got like a little 12-inch white, I remember, because I took it with me to college. I don't even remember what, like it had to have been a circumstance, like I had to ask for it for Christmas or something, because no disposable income until...
Yeah.
Did I get it when I had a job? I had a job. Not important. So, I mean, in many ways, that sort of once again speaks to my kids have access to way more technology. Like the idea that I could have at 10 been trying to create worlds inside of a computer completely would have, like, what even is that as an idea?
Yeah.
To me, computers were this magic box that I occasionally get to play on during breaks at school.
He's really enjoying it. He's pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Daniel is also very good at it.
It's technically developing a skill, like his ability to focus on stuff like that.
It's how programmers get started, y'all.
Yeah. So she's super excited.
So excited.
I'm also excited. Like I said, the part of me that was creating these things.
You're
as
a creator.
Child, yeah.
That's the
It's
the
like,
thing.
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Should really foster that skill.
You
because
should really look
in
at
another
some of the
world,
stuff
if there
they've
had
done.
once again, if there hadn't been so much math involved when I was going to college in 1995, I would have definitely just sort of gotten on. Had I known graphic designer was a real career, I remember I thought psychology was like gonna be my job, but also like if I could create things, I would want to do that. But I remember my parents were completely against me as an artist. Like, I grew up, my parents had these very suburban upper middle class values that were, you are not going to be a starving artist.
Your parents' worst dream is to not make you a member of society that is able to take care of himself.
A functional member of society.
They do not want you living in their basement because you want to draw all day.
But she didn't mind me living in her basement as a graduate student.
You were in graduate school.
But as an artist, that would have been bad.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Even though you probably, even though as an artist, you probably would have made more.
Oh my God. Me as an artist, if I applied that same work ethic that I applied to just going, taking forever to do.
If you had done the Terry Huddleston route and just honed it. And so
my artist friends, there are a couple of my artist friends that make more than me in a weekend.
They listen, and that's
more than I make in a year, or more than I make in like several months in one weekend.
That's their job. They create art for others and people pay for it. They do commissions.
If you have a business acumen.
Yes. Now you do have to have a business acumen that is very different than saying, I like to draw. Right. Like I like to do hair, but I am not a hairstylist. I'm not, I could if I applied myself, but I just kind of like doing it as a hobby. So there's definitely a difference. But I think that speaks to the idea that in society, we are required to get into these boxes. And these boxes say...
That's what we're told to do.
Yeah.
People are told to. It feels like a requirement, but is it really? And I think there are people who step outside those boxes who, I have a skill I can monetize.
Yeah.
And we assume that it's like, it's straight up capitalism to just, turn your hobby into a craft. No, turn your hobby into something you can make money off of. But really, it's like turning a hobby and a skill into a craft that you can sustain yourself with, because other people might not have that skill or that craft. Because people still pay for craft.
People will pay for a number of things.
Yeah. And so, I mean, honestly, if Richie continues, he could go off and make, the best World War II game that ever was, or, you know what I mean? The best. So whatever interest he's into next, he could definitely find a studio that's making that thing.
And he's definitely got this
build it himself.
Super tunnel vision. He's very serious about it.
Yeah.
I remember he showed me his Roblox world on his Fire. He's got the laptop now, which is
so he can access it on his Fire.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He created this world, and he had
Do you know how much my parents would have been on my back if I could have created worlds in the computer at 10? Oh my God, they'd have been like genuinely like, kind of like us now, like, hey, finish that vocabulary homework. And I'd be like, yeah, after I rebuild.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Bringing these dang F's home on your report card. Yeah. I would have totally been doing that.
Now he's very
Diary of a Mad Black Daddy. Shout out to Little Brother. Shout out to Little Brother. Minstrel Show is a great album. A friend of the show, Fonte Coleman.
Oh, hey, that's awesome.
He's not British.
He's not. We're going to say it.
I'm going to say it. Yeah.
We're going to say it.
My dream guest is Fonte Coleman.
Listen, he could be friend in your head.
He is my friend in my head. He's my best friend in my head.
Listen,
I laugh at all his jokes. I follow him on many mediums.
We have all his albums. We are into the show.
I listen to him on Questlove Supreme.
Hey, big fans. Big fans.
No, so if I could get him on the show, I would.
Ra created this world, and he had all these animals. He created these animals. He had all these cats, and then he had pigs, and like he had this farm, and at some point one of the bad animals let all the other animals out and they escaped. And he's like, oh mommy, oh no. I'm like, what's going on here? And I don't know if anybody's seen Roblox. Everything is a square or a rectangle, and so it's all these little rectangle cats running away. And he is devastated.
He's hurt. His like a real life zoo has been opened up, and he created a home
for these ungrateful animals
running around. Wow!
But it's what he would rather do than school.
Right? No,
I mean he does his schoolwork because he knows he has to. It is a part of his
and he values doing well in school.
He absolutely values it.
We did do right by that.
He definitely understands the importance of it, even
though he struggles with academic work by virtue of his disabilities.
But he, and honestly, even with his disability, we chug through it, man. And but as soon as he's done, he's wanting that laptop to go create his world. Which is great. But which
was supposed to be like, I literally bought that laptop for work, but
you bought it for us. You bought it so that I could do work. Yeah. We are, and I am okay with relinquishing. I am okay with giving it to them at the end of the day after the homework is done. Yeah. Because they are doing things that
Could you imagine having your own private computer at 10?
No.
Like, where would that
Listen,
so when I was in high school, the computer lived in my room.
Right, because your room, they called your room the computer room.
Right. My room is also called the computer room.
We had a computer. We didn't get it until my senior year in high school because we knew I would need it for college, right? Mm-hmm. And it lived in the office, which was my grandfather's office. So we absolutely killed his quiet area because we were in there all the time.
Right.
But before that,
is that when he moved to the basement? He moved his piano and stuff to the basement?
Yeah. Then that became his quiet, get away from everybody's space, which I completely get now.
Rude of you guys.
We were totally rude. And once I was kind of like Rob, once I got into the computer, I was like, I took it apart. I put it back together. I added memory. I added another hard drive. Like I figured all that kind of stuff out. My brother got some explicit things, with the virus and took the whole thing down.
Every teenage boy made that mistake in the 90s.
Listen, and woke me up in the middle of the night like, listen, I don't know how to get this naked lady off of here.
Hey, in the 90s, if you were into Sucio content, you learned how to antivirus and remove.
They wasn't going to buy.
How do I back up and make sure that I got copies from now on? And
listen, we learned very hard. And we're and they're like, what's going on in here? And we're both in there like, we're just fixing the computer. We took it apart. We defragged. Yeah. We took everything down to the ground because there was nothing saved on there that we needed. So we recreated this computer.
Rebuilt. We
rebuilt it.
Rebooted the whole operating system.
The whole thing back down
to factory settings. Restore factory settings. Hey,
that's that worked.
Could not imagine.
But before that, I didn't think I was fancy until I got an electronic typewriter.
Because
I used to write. I used to write a lot in composition books and notebooks and things like that. And they're like, you write a lot. Let's type. My uncle learned I could type because he had a computer. He was he was getting his master's at the time. So I would type his papers for him. He was like, you really type. We should probably get you a typewriter. Got me a typewriter. Then got me an electronic typewriter.
Nice.
Where you could type a sentence and then would write the whole thing for you. And then you could backspace. Had the little screen and everything. Oh my gosh.
I've thought about getting one of those.
For the kids to teach them how to type?
Mostly just for myself because computers distract me. Like there's a benefit to having a computer as a writer now because you can write all kinds of things. Yeah. And whenever you have a thought, you can just research it right now. But also it means you're going to get distracted by like Twitter and be on that for 45 minutes.
You know what? Let me expose you real quick. Your setup, right? Y'all, his setup. Tell everybody how many monitors you have.
I am currently operating with 5 monitors.
5 monitors.
If you include the screen that comes with the laptop computer.
5 monitors. Yeah. So you're going to sit down and you're going to focus on just words on a screen.
It is so difficult. I actually wrote something the other day. But it is so difficult.
It's a lot. You know why? Because you got YouTube here, you got art here, you got music here.
You have the whole internet.
You have the
at my disposal to distract me.
5 monitors, y'all.
Yeah.
Do you need 5 monitors?
Oh, it's so much fun. I'll never go back to just having one. I can never go back to just having. So at my job, at some point, I had 2 monitors and a laptop monitor at my job. And when we started going home, I took one from work and brought it home. But now I've hooked up a bunch of old monitors. So some of these are like really old, just square. They come from
but they work,
10
and you
years
can put
ago.
Whatever you want
and
on them.
I could use them as backups. Like one of them right now is monitoring the recording as we're doing it. The other one's monitoring my task manager so that my resources don't get too high.
Do you have a beach webcam going on up there too right now?
Sometimes. That's not what that is, but sometimes I do. I can't do it right now while I'm doing the show because it uses up too many resources. I got to make sure that the computer...
I love you so much, but you're so ADHD.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
It is.
But I love it. I'll be able to watch a YouTube video and I'm also writing a note and doing other things. I've got all the things going on.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm pretty jealous of your setup.
It's okay. I'm jealous out loud.
I'm being jealous out loud. I'm gonna let our listeners know. That I'm a hater of your setup.
And then I also I got a Kindle Fire next to me that I use for some things.
And you got your phone.
Yeah.
You got the Zen going on in the background.
I got a candle warmer.
He said a candle warmer with the best scent. So we have candle warmers everywhere. Yeah. But he found a scent that I'm just in love with. Ultimately you have your space surrounded. You have your space and you're surrounded by your stuff that you love.
Yes.
And
it's very comfortable.
It's super comfortable.
It's been so hard to go back to work because I made this such a comfortable space.
I feel like I've
got my crime novels on the counter. I've got my mixer over here. He's got
bookcases with his favorite books.
Yeah. I got many leather bound books. I'm kind of a big deal.
I'm letting you have my Dalek
in here
on your bookcase.
Well, you weren't paying attention, so I thought
no. It's still my Dalek. I just have nowhere to put it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to go into a box in the basement. So.
No, I agree. I feel like it should be out, but you know.
Yeah. So it's a nice space. It's a nice setup.
So we're the kind of parents that our kids will have some of the things that we have because we also enjoy them.
Yeah.
And so one of the other things that we decided we were going to do was get a doorbell. And that doorbell has the...
Oh, yeah. Prime Day happened a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And we got ourselves a Ring doorbell, which I cannot install yet because I need a new drill bit because I've read on the internet that the drill bit was provided is not good for the masonry. It's just not going to drill. But anyway, not important. I haven't installed it yet. But in buying that on Prime Day, I got a free Echo Dot and a free Echo Show because I bought some other camoras.
So you keep calling it an Echo Dot, and really we bought Alexa. That's what it is.
We brought Alexa into our home.
We are
almost at the break, so we'll talk a little bit more about Amazon Alexa and what that does to an ecosystem in a house when you add it to 3 children. We're going to take a break for some commercials, and then we'll talk about that in just a moment.
See you soon.
So let me tell you about Anchor Podcast. It's the podcasting service that I use. Anchor.fm is the easiest way to make a podcast, and there are many different reasons why, but foremost is it's free. So you don't need to go out and buy a whole bunch of equipment. If you have a phone or a computer and a microphone, you can record and edit your podcast right on your phone or computer. So that's one major benefit, as well as the fact that they'll distribute your podcast to several different podcasting sites for you. Not only can your podcast be found on Anchor, it can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast as well. So you don't have to worry about going to all those different sites and setting yourself up. They'll do it for you. You can also make some money on your podcast. Say you have a podcast that only 5 people listen to on a regular basis. They don't limit you on how many subscribers you have to have in order to be able to make a little bit of change for your podcast to keep yourself going. So pretty much everything you need to start a podcast can be found at Anchor.fm. So go download the app either in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, or go to Anchor.fm to get started. And I guarantee you, it'll make things so much easier for you, like it has for me. And we're back.
Hey there.
And we are talking about technology and its role in our upbringing and with our children who are exposed to so much more technology than we ever were as kids, and how that makes a difference, I think. Our parents would have never thought about things like screen time.
No.
There was definitely a get out of the front of that TV.
Right. If you were even allowed to watch what you wanted, you could sit there with them, but you're not. Yeah. If there were multiple TVs at all.
Yeah, I remember when we were kids, like the family room was sort of left to us, and that was where our TV was, and that was the room we often made a mess in.
You got the family room.
We got the family room to ourselves, but it was like, they just spent time in their room or in the bedroom or the ups. The family room was like a den kind of down
down some stairs,
and then they had the upstairs to themselves.
Was it a tri-level or bi-level, or
I don't know what you call it. I just know
not really a basement, but not really.
We also had a basement that was down behind.
Okay,
like in the division, this little space between the stairs.
Okay,
and you came down the stairs, and then if you hit a sharp right, and then went down another set of stairs into the basement.
Okay, so that's
the other part of the house.
That is that's like a bi-level.
I don't know real estate like that.
I love looking at houses.
Yeah. So you might like that. It was then I guess a bi-level house. It was weird. And then we had the attic area, which was where we lived. It was also, another space that was used as our bedroom.
Our daughter has asked to hang out in our attic.
She does keep asking about the attic, which I don't understand what her draw to that is. She was like, I want to go up in the attic. I was like, it's nothing up there.
I said, there's nothing up there. You need a ladder. She's like, don't we have a ladder? Yeah, we have a ladder.
But not for that. She's like, I'm not sending you up a ladder.
She's a problem solver. Like, so if we get a ladder, we got a ladder.
Yeah.
So then I can get into the attic is what you're saying?
And I'm like, let go of this idea. It's a dumb idea. There's nothing in it for you. Like, just give up. No,
I said, there's really nothing up there and it's dark. She was like, is it creepy? Like, she was fascinated.
Yeah.
I love her. She is. I am raising myself. It is the worst.
It's interesting, but it's also like, chill out. Like, it just doesn't.
No,
like,
just no.
Just no.
Just no.
Just no because.
Just no because I've got 1,000 things on my list to do, and going to the basement, getting the food so that you can have an adventure. It's just not.
It's not ever going to be the adventure you think it is. Like,
it's not. But you
let's
can't
have adventure in other ways.
Of that. Or she could just go sit down somewhere.
Right. Always.
So we're definitely more into technology. We have to be. It's the only way that they can go to school at this point right now.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing is that now it's essentially a requirement. Like,
it is.
We've always had to have like among the best internet connections.
Yes, and we do.
We don't have the best. We could go full business class.
We could go business class, but we have the gigabits. That's For consumers, it's pretty good.
Terry always makes fun of our internet connection because he has full business class internet.
Because his business pays for his internet.
Right. We're
paying out of pocket.
We've never quite hit that point.
No, but you get your stuff and we can, claim it. I mean, charge it to that. But
yeah.
We
PsychWorks.
So we use PsychWorks LLC. Check them out, y'all.
Yeah.
So we're always into technology, and so every so often we're introducing new kinds of technology all the time.
Yeah.
You're a gadget geek. You love gadgets.
There was a time where I was always well ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
As we talked about with the Zune, right? Mm-hmm. Like I was, in that regard, I was a little bit behind the curve.
There was no way to know how that went.
I knew it was. I was just hoping beyond hope that this gadget would hold out.
We failed with the Zoom and with the HD versus.
HD. We did lose out in HD versus Blu-ray.
We did.
Where's Blu-ray now, though? So I mean, no one won.
Where is Blu-ray now?
No one won that.
Listen.
Yeah.
I
remember getting into an argument with an ex-girlfriend about, she said something to the effect of, people are going to stop buying discs. Everything's going to be digital. I was like, no, discs aren't going anywhere. Like, there's no way.
What did she know?
And I was like, no, people aren't going to rebuy all their stuff on digital. That means you have to rebuy things. You can't rip CDs or DVDs.
Not sure who this ex-girlfriend is, but sis, you were right, honey.
Yeah.
Listen, my son wanted to watch The Matrix, and I bought it. Well, you know what? No, I found my way to it.
You found it on the internet. Yeah.
I found it on HBO Max, but I was going to buy it again, even though you bought me full set.
Full set of the trilogy.
I've got the trilogy. I've got the script.
Yeah.
I've got a whole set.
Yeah.
Do I have a DVD player? No. We were talking about Walking Away the Pounds with Leslie Sansoni for my mom, and your mom texted me like, "Oh, I got her name is Leslie Sansoni," because I was looking for her, and I said, "Oh yeah, I found her on YouTube. We did it the other day, and Mama liked it." And she's like, "I got these 2 DVDs," and I'm like,
I ain't gonna know where to play DVDs.
Crickets. What? What?
My bad. I ain't got no way to play that.
What do I do with a DVD?
Right. She mentioned DVD. I was like, what would I even play it on?
Listen, y'all, she goes to these yard sales, and 2 years ago, she was like, I got all these Disney VHS and DVDs. And we're all like, we can't do nothing.
We can't do anything with them. They have an Xbox, so they can play DVDs on the Xbox.
They're not playing no DVDs on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
they're not.
Yeah. My bad.
No, you're right. Yeah, so I mean, you were wrong about the
I was totally wrong about that.
I love the Zoom.
Sometimes I'm wrong about the future of technology because I keep thinking human beings are going to be the way they are as I understand them right now. Human beings change, and I forget that they change.
No.
And I underestimate, just human behavior. And because I'm, a technology person, I'm often having these like futurist conversations where they're like, oh, human beings are going to be like this. And I'm like, are they though? Because I mean, they're a lot like this. They're not at all like that now.
Well, your job is to understand human behavior. You're very fascinated by it. And I'm kind of like, is it going to be cool? Am I going to like it? Is it in my price range? Right.
Yeah.
And so one of the interesting things about this whole Echo Dot Alexa thing was that neither one of us was really interested in it.
No.
At all.
No, I don't want something listening to me all the time.
I don't want you listening all the time. Get out of my business.
Right.
All right. It's bad enough that Amazon and Facebook and all of y'all know what I'm searching for and put those ads in between all of my Facebook messages and stuff like that. I don't need you listening to all of my randomness. Okay. But we got the doorbell. We got the Echo Dot was free. And let me say, I didn't know that it was actually called Echo Dot. I've been calling it Echo Dot. Sorry.
You keep saying
Echo Dot. Listen, Alexa. That's her name.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to call her.
You're calling it the Alexa device. It is an Alexa device.
I'm just calling her Alexa. She's a member of the family now, y'all.
She is apparently.
Richie installed it in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And wow.
Yeah, the kids went nuts.
They went ham.
They went nuts.
So, don't nobody know how to take turns, raise their hands, listen to the other. So all three of them are just like, Alexa, play this. Alexa, stop. Alexa, start. Alexa, are you my friend? Alexa.
Yeah, Victoria is talking nonstop to Alexa. And we're at that. Do we just get her own Alexa? Like it's $30.
I feel like
she'll bother it in her room. Oh, I haven't told you this.
I think we should absolutely do that.
New information.
Okay.
I bought a bunch of smart plugs. They're going to be coming to our house.
Okay.
So
smart plugs for
the Alexa, you'll be able to turn off different rooms.
Ooh, okay.
Lights in different rooms and things like that. And I've thought about getting smart bulbs or either smart bulbs or smart plugs for Victoria's room.
Okay.
So that she can so that when she's not in there or that it's the end of the night, you can turn off the light and stuff in her room.
Okay.
Or turn off the TV.
See, now look at us. We're getting
right, because once you have that, once you get started, your home a smart home, which I've always wanted.
We've always wanted a home I
could walk into and be like, lights on, home.
Turn
the temperature to 70 degrees.
One of the things that we dreamed about before we even bought a house was to be able to wire the house internet top to bottom, right? We wanted to get the internet everywhere. And this is at the time we had cable, so we had never dreamed that we were going to actually be doing that, which we are.
Yeah.
Without Cat 5 cables everywhere, the wireless is pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea of being able to play music in every room and just
with the Echo you can.
Which is very cool.
Wherever you put it, you can play music.
She needs one in her room, and then she can talk to Alexa all day.
And she does. She just walks up to it, Alexa, I love you, and then walks away.
And Alexa's like,
that's nice.
Thank you. I appreciate the love. Alexa, do you have a boyfriend? And she says, no, I am gladly single. Like she talked to her for an hour.
Yeah. Just talking to Alexa.
Just talking to her, asking her questions.
And Alexa is good enough to not be discourred by a little
She's not annoyed by half as much
as we are annoyed by hearing.
Yes.
And then Richie's like super like, would you leave it alone? Like he's such an older brother. He's so annoyed.
He gets so mad about it. Like, stop asking her really crazy questions. But then Alexa plays 1920 songs.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Then he asks it to play 1920s
music.
Yeah.
What?
Which is like...
Did you even want to listen to it, or did you just want to ask questions?
Right.
Just because you didn't want to hear Frozen 2 again.
Yeah. So the Alexa can only listen to one person at a time. So every time someone asks something, it stops what it's doing, which means
she gets confused.
Yeah. And so like one kid yells at a command, the other kid yells a command. Daniel is the one who's the most removed. Like he just kind of walks away and does his own thing. But between Richie and Victoria, my two most ADHD children, they're just battling
on top of each other. Alexa, start. Alexa, stop. Alexa, start. Alexa, stop.
Alexa, play a 1920s
play Old Time Road. Alexa,
play something from the 1940s.
What's the history of soldiers in 1923? Yeah, it's the
and Alexa
most,
will totally find that information.
She will, and she'll let him go and
fill them in.
So we're in.
So we're probably just going to get a bunch for every room.
We probably should, and
which I feel weird about.
Here's the. I mean, it's going to be where I know. I mean, they're already listening. Okay. But the only thing
I do carry a tracking device in my pocket at all times. It's called my cell phone. Yes. So I don't know why I'm so hesitant because like that thing.
Listen, I know where you are at all times. I don't know. I have no idea. I saw it on one of my reality shows. Like, really?
You could track people do. They track their significant other all the time.
Yeah, on like a GPS.
Yeah. I have a lot of parents who
like find your phone and stuff.
And I'm like, ugh, that's not fostering trust.
I saw it on a show, and she's like, yeah, I know where my ex is right now. He's with all these guys, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why is that a thought in your head at all?
Because you can, and that's how anxiety works. When you have the ability to control outcomes, you're going to take the opportunity.
You don't have the ability to control. I'm sorry. Wordy dird.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's an assumption. I mean, once again, if you go back to where we were as kids, like if we were outside the house, our parents just had a somewhat of an understanding, but they might not see each other. Like I might not have seen my mom. It seemed like she preferred if I did not come back in that house until the street light came on.
I told you don't come back until the street light came on.
Don't be opening up the door. Close my door. Let down my AC.
Go out and be safe. I love you. Goodbye.
Right. And so we would be like on our bikes, like literally miles away.
Yeah.
At the library, or we'd go to Kroger, which I don't know if you once again recall West Virginia. Our house on 18th Street.
That's right.
Kroger's
and so you crossed over the
down.
tracks to get to that. Was that a Kroger?
No, that was a Fast Check.
Okay.
But no, we were not just going to Fast Check. They would send me to Fast Check for things, but we would go to Kroger.
That's a busy street to cross over to get.
So you know where the Tudor's Biscuit World is?
Yeah.
The Kroger that's adjacent from that.
Oh.
We were all the way there. We were down by the bridge.
I was going to say, you're down by the bridge.
Yeah, we would just take our bikes and just ride all the way to there.
Well, but you know what? Honestly, that's what we did too.
I should put a map of Dunbar on this episode.
But you know what? That's kind of how I would love to live my life. I would love to just be gone.
Yeah.
I'll see you at the end of the day.
Right.
Go out, go forth, make your own decisions, learn right from wrong as you do all that. We learned all of that kind of stuff when we did that. And we're better for it.
I don't know that it didn't have any lingering effects on some of us for a variety of reasons. I mean, there's a lot of...
It doesn't work for everybody.
It doesn't.
Let's be clear about that.
There's never a one-size-fits-all policy.
No. But I liked... One of the things that I enjoyed about the way that my grandparents raised me was that they're like, okay, here's our restrictions. Here's what we believe. Here's our foundation. You need to make your decisions within that, right? So that's kind of how I like to live, right? But I don't want to track you. I don't want to track them.
Right.
I don't want to track nobody. Okay.
Right.
I don't have the capacity, right?
Yeah, we're a little free range with them.
We're
definitely
we are.
Often when I ask myself, should I be paying more attention at this point to them about this particular thing? I usually reflect on, no, I mean, I was fine, and my parents were never the type of person who was up under me all the time, providing me with things to do.
It was
like raise yourself, not necessarily raise yourself, but you'll be fine.
Learn
if you just
how to make your own decisions and your own fun within the parameters that we've set. Right. We have rules.
And they've been given so much more entertainment options than we have. So it's
correct.
No.
So I refuse to additionally entertain you. Right now, I do love the idea of getting together and playing games. I do like when it's outside.
Occasionally have structured activities.
We have structured activities, but we're the kind of family where, hey, don't write my fun down and make a list. It's like, hey, let's just go to the backyard and do something. We'll do that. So we're very good at that as well.
Yeah.
But it's,
So it's not so free range that we're never providing them with anything
it's just,
to do.
Organic more than anything.
Yeah, but it's never every day, every moment of the day has to be regimented. I'm not scheduling.
No.
I mean, because at some point life's going to show up and do that to them. And why should we make that their experience here with us? I do worry a little bit more about discipline to some degree. I know Richie needs more discipline, but then again, it's I didn't have it at 10. So he's got time and I'm super disciplined now.
But I'm not concerned because when we get up in the morning and we say, get on your call, he gets on his call.
Yeah.
He does what he's
follow
asked.
Directions.
He can follow directions. That is exactly what we've been asking him to do. And that's what he does.
Yeah.
You got to double check Daniel because he might be playing Roblox instead of actually being on his class. But
Daniel
he'll push the boundaries
and take it.
Yep. Victoria needs oversight. She needs complete oversight.
Yeah.
But she's also 5.
Yeah.
So I think some of that is just understanding their age range, meeting them where they are, and sort of giving them, I feel like giving them the ability to learn how to make those mistakes under our purview.
Yeah.
You learn so much more that way.
Yeah. I think it's possible.
If I tell you all the time, everything to do all day, if you listen, right?
Yeah.
Then are you really learning the same way?
When you do that, they don't trust their own ideas of things.
No.
There's a balance for sure.
Definitely a balance.
You want them to know
we are their parents.
Yeah.
We are definitely.
We set limits.
We are the end all be all as far as rules and discipline go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We are an absolute authority. But at the same time, you want them to be able to trust their own judgment and know that they are supported and to be nurturing when it's necessary, but also, what do you think? What can you do to sort of help them develop that agency they need in order to, because they're not going to always be around you. They got to sort of learn to live
going to eventually
in a world without you.
Have to be able to
where they get to pursue their own
live
interests
without you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember some of my biggest moments in my life. I remember, my grandparents raised me in that way that you go, you figure it out. We're always here. again, these are the guidelines. Here's the foundation. And I remember making decisions, but before making that final decision of something that I knew was going to be big, talking to her about it first and saying, okay, so here's the decision I'm thinking about making, and then gauging her response to see, whether it was a good decision or not, and I'm talking about big stuff like, okay, I'm living at home. I want to move out, and I found a place. I have a job. I've calculated a budget. I've done all of these things that make me feel prepared to do so, so, I remember coming to her with those kind of things, and, when she like check mark it, like, yeah, no, that's good. Do it. Then feeling good about saying, okay, I came up with it, but she approved it. Like that means that, I got here myself.
Get signed off on.
Yeah. And so I want the kids to have that same efficacy. They're 10, 8, and 5. I mean, clearly we're not letting them, have candy for breakfast and all other kind of stuff. Listen, on a bad day, don't judge me. I don't know what they're eating.
I mean, honestly, but cereal's technically candy for breakfast.
But it's got enough sugar. I mean, so we were, again, this.
It's all a matter of like parenting. I think is just an experiment in trying the best you can to, replicate as many of the values that you understand. Yeah. And that what you've seen, I mean, I think human beings, and I'll definitely talk about this more in a lot of episodes, is we're comparison junkies. Like we can't not make social comparisons. And I've said it before, we're often looking at the bad more than we're looking at the good. And we're never quite sure what's the right way to be. We can only look at the examples around us and then use that to judge whether or not we are on track in some way or another.
But, think about how we just went down memory lane about being poor kids in poor neighborhoods. We talked about those things that were nostalgic to us.
Yeah.
But think about our parents. Day. There was definitely.
That isn't captured.
But I guarantee you that our parents, yours and mine, at that time was like, man, I didn't want to be poor. I didn't want my kids to be poor, to know that they're poor. You know what I mean? And the whole time we're just kind of like, hey, there's every poor neighborhood had a candy lady, like all of that stuff.
My grandmother was a candy lady for her neighborhood.
Your grandma was like, and that's like, listen, that's like hood royalty, man. Like when your grandma is the candy lady,
right.
Like now we had a candy lady too. And we lived in the Faye. If anybody's from Cincinnati, I started out downtown, Laurel Homes, and then we moved so we lived in a couple of different subsidized housing neighborhoods, whatever, and we found our fun. You know what I mean? And again, there were things that as a kid you shouldn't see, or that but I don't know that that our kids aren't going to be exposed to stuff that we wish they hadn't seen, or it's
ultimately like, so most parents want to try their best to control, and you can do your best to provide an environment where you limit a lot of that stuff, but it's still the world. And so the world is actually by and of itself dark and full of terrors. So some of that you just can't escape. You can't escape there. You'll never be able to make an environment that's so controlled that no bad will ever have access to them. But you can, for the most part, limit it. I think that's what a lot of parents get into, is in trying to, make their kids as safe as they can. But you end up with them being a little too soft. And
that's my fear. That's my biggest fear is I'm tough. I grew up tough. Yeah. My brother's tough.
Yeah. That's
just what it is, right? For many reasons that, we haven't spoken about. But I never wanted my kids to grow up the way that I did. I don't want them to be tough because of the way that I became tough.
Because the world was so hard on them.
It was so hard.
Yeah.
And I don't want the world to be hard on them, but I don't want them to be soft. Yeah. Right? And so there's this.
Yeah. When you got the kind of blue collar upbringing, there's a lot of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the 80s. Like discipline was different than it is now, right? Like food options.
Yeah.
Like just back talking, adult conversation. There's so many different things that happened.
Have transitioned since we were kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. That takes me to the conversation I had with Ra yesterday, where I was driving him and he's talking to me about how, he said he really hated 2017. And I'm like, wait, why 2017? Why did you?
It's like 2020. It's like 3 years ago.
And he's like, well, a lot of people were making fun of me because I did these things and I made these mistakes. And I got bullied at school, and I'm like, I'm sorry to hear that happened, but that is in the past. So maybe if we just sort of take the past and leave it in the past, and still dwelling on it 3 years later doesn't change that it happened. My typical spiel that I give to kids, and he's like, I can't do that. I'm like, it's weird being a child therapist, because when I do my job, people listen to me, but my kids often are like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm like,
not going to do what you just said.
It makes perfect sense. I don't know if you know this, but I'm a doctor in this.
I get paid to do this.
You can train your brain to not focus on the negatives in your life, because your brain, as I said before, is a pattern recognizing problem solver. So it looks for the problems, and if you get so focused on the negatives, that's all you're going to see.
And he's our anxiety kid, right?
Yeah.
So he's the kid that has the most anxiety out of all of them.
Yeah.
That we noticed. That we noticed,
and
right?
It's very internal. I think you don't always know when he's anxious, but he's anxious.
So the fact that he's got a great memory. So the fact that he remembers things from 2017.
Yeah.
Some of that may or may not be accurate. His timing is always a little off, but as a mom, hearing that when you told me, like, it made me sad. It made me immensely sad.
See, I wasn't. So I was like, oh, that's messed up.
I was sad all night long.
See, I wasn't, because it's like bad thing. We all were picked on and bullied. And if you dwell on that, then it's messed up. But there's a lot of other things that have happened. And that was what was interesting.
Great things that happened to you.
There's so many other great things that have happened to you.
You got to focus on those things.
You got to focus. You got to pull those things out. You got to look for those things sometimes. Some days they're harder to find, but other days. And so, that bad thing happened to you. But that was probably only like 15 minutes of your life on that day. Yeah. And if you held on to it, then it feels bigger than it is.
Right.
But there was also other wonderful things, like wonderful interactions.
Beautiful things that have happened since
moments.
then.
And you got to also remember that those things are as valid, or maybe even more
valid. Yeah.
You know, there could be 100 people who give you a compliment, but if one person criticizes you, you're going to dwell on that one person, because the brain is a pattern recognizing problem solver.
Yeah.
So it thinks that person is the problem, when in reality, you're the problem. You've overlooked 100 other people who like you. The 99 other people can like you, but one person gives you an insult. And you're like, what's wrong with that person that they don't like me? It probably doesn't matter. The odds are against that person and their critique. So my son, who's well liked by a lot of people in his life.
People love him.
Yeah.
His teachers love him.
Other kids like him.
Other kids love him.
Yeah.
Because he's such a sweet kid.
Right.
And genuinely, he is just the Captain America. Okay, y'all.
Right. But he had this bad moment where a bad thing happened. They made fun of it, and now he can't let go of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, you got to look for the positive.
Well, and I think that he thought that they made fun of it in a way, but I remember the incident. It wasn't. It was the way he perceived it, not the way it actually happened.
Yeah.
Because I remember the teacher called and she's like, he's going to be okay. Everybody was really nice to him. And, stuff happens at school. You have accidents and all that kind of stuff. And I think all those kind of things sort of stick with him. And it makes me sad, because I am the same way. Right. And one of my biggest breakthrough moments in therapy was when I was talking about how I felt like I was an ugly kid, and people always said I was ugly. And actually, it was just a set of mean teenage girls in a hood. There was a cute little girl next to me, and they're like, yeah, this girl is cute, but she's ugly, and talking about me. Yeah. And he's like, but how many other times have people said you were beautiful? Or do you think you're like, there was this whole process that we went through, and it was like saying it out loud, and him saying it to me like that. I was an adult though. Was like, oh yeah, I'm focusing on the wrong thing.
Right. And there's a reason we do that, because, at his age, it's actually the very formative emotional time. Right. Where you're developing who you are as an emotional creature. And some of that comes from your parents. They can instill a sense of trust in the world around you, as well as this idea of yourself as a valid individual. But at the same time, we have the opportunity to outgrow some of those incidents that happen and to not focus on the negatives in the way that we do, because you never know what the other person's going through and why they were so negative to you. It might not actually matter. It might not even be feedback that you can do anything about necessarily.
And that's always the thing, particularly with Ra, who is really into bullying. He's anti-bullying everywhere. Yeah. One of the things that I know that we talked about, especially when he was going into school, was there are kids who are bullies, but a lot of times they're bullies because maybe that's when they go home, that's what they hear. Or maybe some other kid said it to them first. Yeah. Or they heard it on TV and it resonated with them. Like, there are so many things that could be taken into account. And I said, and oftentimes you really just kind of have to, you have to pray for those kids because they're really sad inside, right? Yeah. And you can't let them make you sad inside, right? You kind of have to stay away from them because some of those kids are toxic and they're just going to be that way, and that's going to be that, right?
Right.
Some of those kids, it'll take them a while to learn how to not be that way, and you have to be you, right? And we're teaching you, you're beautiful, we love you. Like, we're constantly telling our kids how smart and beautiful and funny.
All these affirming things. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's so important because they are going to go out into the world and the world's going to be like, maybe or maybe not. You have no idea. Right. So yeah, they have to be prepared for that kind of stuff. But like I said, we grew up hard. Like you just don't know what you're going to get. And so, had to learn how to navigate that.
To let go of some of those things.
You have to let it go because there are going to be something. There were so many things that happen so often that you're kind of just like, I can't even let that bother me.
Right.
I can't even let that bother me.
Right.
I got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah. And you've probably navigated around those things, but there's still hurts that remain within you.
Right.
And so you got to find a way to sort of deal with those and let yourself
heal from it.
Yeah. Because we all have moments where something hurtful happened to us. That's, once again, surviving on this very cruel and cold planet where, not everybody's required to be nice to you or to show you respect. But do you have to take that as this is the important thing?
The end all be all of you. Yeah. Or even important to you at all. Yeah. Why is it important to you?
Right.
Who even was that person?
Who was that person? Yeah.
Do you even remember them or their name or what their face looked like? And I will say that's at that point, and at that point, why is it important then? Right. If you don't even remember.
Right.
You remember the feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why it sticks with you because it evokes a feeling like things that trigger.
But that's
emotions.
The thing that you can let go easily. Right.
No. That's what makes it so hard. The feeling is what causes it to be ingrained. Our emotions are largely there to help us remember the things that are important. And we do have an aversion to being rejected socially and shunned. So that's why these moments of shame and insecurity stick out to us when they happen to us so young, because it helps to paint this internal picture of us as creatures who maybe are unlovable in one way or another. That's what's interesting, because Victoria, every time you are mean to her or stern to her in any way, she's like, you don't love me anymore? And it's like, where did you get that idea from?
Yeah, why is that?
I've never said I don't love you. Like, you're generating that internally, and I'd like you to stop, because it's more cruel than I would ever be. But I mean, that's one of the reasons that we as kids, that narrative is easy to ingrain. It's
for them to the way that they understand things, I guess, is very extreme, right?
So either being
so you're either being really nice or you're being really mean,
and it's like, or you hate me. It's very binary.
And particularly for her and for Ra, right? And it's like, no, that's not how any of this works. Just because I said stop screaming or I'm gonna pop you does not mean I don't love you. Actually means that I do. I
think I love you enough to correct you. That correcting is a type of love. Now, maybe not popping. I mean, that's
hard to. Okay, I mean, but again, we don't beat our kids, all right? But
sometimes we threaten to.
Yes. Okay. And if she pushes me too far, I might actually pop her. But it's so rare, right?
Yeah.
Stop screaming.
Right.
Stop screaming while I'm working. Stop screaming while Daddy's working. Stop screaming while Amazon is delivering packages. Just stop screaming.
It's her only speed. She's only got the one speed, screaming or non-screaming.
And I keep saying to myself, she's 5. We've got to learn how to help her regulate her emotions and all that other kind of stuff.
Definitely.
I'm already teaching her language arts and math and all this other stuff in school. I got to teach her how to be.
Hey, none of it's any good without emotional intelligence. That's what really saves them.
That's my job as the parent. I get that.
That's one thing technology can't teach you. Technology can be an access to a lot of information, but it's not going to teach you emotional intelligence. That's something that we as their parents have to provide.
Here's the funny thing about that.
Yeah.
Here's what's hilarious about that. She loves videos and YouTubes about learning how to be emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, she does. She listens to a lot of that stuff.
She loves Daniel Tiger, right? And he's singing about, oh, I'm mad. You got to learn how to not be mad. And she loves videos about learning how to be emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, she does.
She watches them all day long. You think she learned something from those YouTubes?
She's probably learned something from the YouTubes, just not as much as you'd like to hear.
It's not enough. She needs to graduate into the next class and get her master's and her PhD. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay? I love her. I really do.
Yeah.
I am she is me. Okay? I don't learn very well.
Your frustration is with yourself, man.
My frustration is with myself.
Yeah. Raising children is raising a version of yourself, that part of yourself that's hardest to control.
Well, and I mean, and out of all of my kids, she is my twin. I said it. I said it out loud.
You should, yeah. Just remember that when you need to be more patient with her.
I do, and I don't care at all because I'm in the moment. That's how we are. Have you met me?
Yeah, no. I've spent a lot of time with you at this point in quarantine.
You still love me?
Yes, I do love you. That's why I'm still here.
That's why you haven't packed your duffel bag and gone to your mama's house.
Hey. Like the comedian said on Kevin's stage, is like, oh, quarantine? Can I go into quarantine? That'd be great. I said, I'll just be at peace in here. You can keep all the chaos out there.
Right.
I love a quiet house.
Oh, man, you had that 28 days without us.
And I disappeared in my room.
You disappeared into Victoria's room, and I brought you food every day.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice.
I feel like
it wasn't nice. I felt horrible.
You did,
and I was tired all the time. And
y'all, I've been trying to catch something ever since. Like,
no,
so we just gonna quarantine me? No. I got a cough.
I don't think it's worth playing around with, to be honest. But
no, I don't want I didn't say COVID.
Yeah, see, that's the way you get quarantined. They don't just quarantine you for nothing.
No. I was downstairs and almost bust my head open because I'm clumsy, and I was like, "Ooh, I almost had a 2-week break here." Bust my head open to go to the hospital. No. I
can just give you a break. Like,
no, that's not how that works. That's not how that works. There was another. I know I might be spilling somebody's tea, but honestly, I was talking to Miss Jimenez. She used to take care of Daniel, and she was like, she had 4 boys, and she was taking care of Daniel. So, and he looked just like them. So it was like a 5th son, basically. And her husband worked long hours and stuff like that. And her house was always immaculate. She always looked great. She had 6 dogs, all that kind of stuff. So she's definitely always, busy. And she was like, girl, sometimes I just wish I could hurt myself just enough to be in the hospital. Not be too hurt too bad, but just enough to get a break. That's a mother's prayer right there. I felt seen. Okay. Let me just be honest. Like, I don't want to get hurt bad. I definitely don't want the COVID. I hate the hospital. I hate hospital food, but I just really want to be left alone. But for real, left alone. Like, oh man, she really hurt herself. She needs some space. Yeah. Not like, no, mommy needs space because she needs quiet. No one cares when you say.
We did, yeah.
No one
so we
cares.
Did call her the house couch because I came in and the cats were laying on her, and the kids aren't around today.
So the kids went to Gammy's today, and I'm laying in bed. I had just had my West Virginia hot dog. I was so happy. I'm watching TV, and the cats still hate each other, but they hopped on the bed, and Quinn is growling at Raven, and he's like, I don't care. I'm sleeping next to her no matter what. She's like, well, I'm sleeping next to her too. And so now I'm surrounded by both cats.
Yeah.
In this kind of
because she is the person in the house who provides comfort to literally everyone in the house.
And I think
she can't get a moment's peace.
I think it's great that people seek comfort from me because I feel like I'm so prickly.
You're not as prickly as you think you are.
I feel like I'm very prickly.
That's how you feel on the inside. Isn't how you present.
I'm so tired. I don't want to be touched 1,000 times a day.
Yeah.
It's
try to
so
give you as
much
much space as I can.
No,
the other kid, the kids and the cats.
The kids and the cats. I mean, I want.
Hey, this lady's comfortable. Let me get on top of her.
Yeah, get on top of me.
No. I was talking about the kids. We're thinking that, but
yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You made that weird.
We're married.
Yeah.
Was it weird?
You were saying it to me. I was saying it from the I know you're not as welcoming to the kids getting on top of you as you would.
I thought you were talking about you.
Yeah. No, talking about the kids in that context.
I think with that, we've rounded the bend on.
I feel like, maybe
we're definitely over time a little bit. We were trying to keep it under an hour. We're bad at that because I'm bad at time.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But thanks so much for coming out.
We really appreciate it.
I hope you appreciated our conversation about the changes in technology and adding
stuff to your
Amazon
ecosystem.
Infrastructure, making Jeff Bezos another cool, $100 by adding all this stuff to
his
our
wife
home.
Got a good chunk of it though, girl.
Yeah.
All right now.
Cheaper to keep her.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for listening to episode 15.
I would caution any parent, maybe hold off on Alexa and the Messenger kids, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Not unless you want them always calling you when they're away from you,
right.
Or yelling at Alexa and the
fighting
family
amongst
room.
themselves over Alexa.
Yeah,
because it's just more things that you add to the technological ecosystem.
During COVID, so you're here all the time. So
you're listening to each other yell. It's another thing to fight over. Anything you add, they just fight over.
Maybe think about it. I don't know.
Yeah, there's no escaping the fights either. That's normal.
No, Richie just be inviting this stuff in the house, and it's gonna be great. And so
I mean, they'll eventually get over it. So
they will.
Yeah.
So we've reached the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for listening.
We really appreciate it.
We do. Glad to have you.
Yep. You know what the music means.
You know what the music means. Our time is up.
I say good day, sir.
I say good day. The Hall Space Podcast is brought to you by Hall Productions, LLC. Show notes and credits can be found at our webpage, thehallspacepodcast.wordpress.com. Any questions, comments, or concerns can be sent to us at thehallspacepodcast@gmail.com. The show is written by Daggerpin Davis. Music is curated by DJ Cabal. The show is produced by Chuck Jones and recorded at Slash and Trash Studios. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a good week. And now, another edition of House Hall Theater. So, having kids is tough. You have things you like, and they're basically mini versions of you. So, if you really like something, they're going to like it too, which, most of my parents will know. That means you can't keep, your favorite cereal around because they're going to eat it. I remember I had this cereal that I loved. Captain Crunch made a donut cereal that was delicious. And unfortunately, it's not necessarily seasonal, but it's limited edition. So it only comes out for a little while. And so I loved it. And my son, my oldest son, Richie, who shares my name, he loved it too. So I made the mistake of sharing some with him. And my son, who shares my face and my name, basically takes the box one day at an afternoon and just sits in front of the TV and eats the entire box of cereal. So I'm out of cereal, and like I said, limited edition, so I'm never going to get that back. That's not the only time that's happened, and it's certainly not the last. Recently, for those of you who don't know, I'm lactose intolerant, so I can't eat ice cream. I feel like I went the better part of a year, and I've only really ate ice cream maybe twice. I've only chanced it a couple of times this year. 2020's already got enough going on, so I don't want to also add, digestive incontinence to that equation. So my mom really wanted ice cream, so I thought I'd buy some ice cream for her, and then they had Jenny's in the market, and so I also bought Jenny's ice cream. Now, Jenny's ice cream is mad expensive. A pint is $8. So when I bought the ice cream, I just sort of knew, buy one that you really will enjoy. And I know I wasn't going to eat a pint in one sitting because lactose intolerance, but maybe I could dole it out over a number of days. So we have the family night that we've been having pretty regularly, and I eat the ice cream and eat a couple of lactate pills because it's really rich. The last time I ate it was 2 years ago. And to say that I was sick for 2 days, it wasn't just the Jenny's. I had also eaten really rich that night. But it definitely stuck with me that Jenny's ice cream might be too much for me to tolerate without lactate. So took my lactate, was fine, and actually ate the Jenny's and wasn't too bad. I was like, okay, so maybe with, a good lactate while I'm eating, I could enjoy Jenny's ice cream. So I put it in the freezer. I only have a couple of scoops, I can't go ham because I know better. And I do value, my intestinal fortitude. So have a couple of scoops, put it in the refrigerator. in the freezer, walk away from it. 2 days later, I walk out and I see the entire carton of Jenny's ice cream sitting on the table in the family room. And my heart just sinks. And there's this big spoon sitting next to it. And it's completely melted. Like whomever decided to eat it just left it out and didn't finish it. And, you know, I know that with their little child palate, because I know it was a kid, no adult would just leave a carton of ice cream sitting out in a adjacent room with a spoon that's too large to be eating it. That's a kid move right there. So I'm just hurt because it's expensive ice cream. It's the one treat I was allowing myself. I'm trying to cut back on sweets in a lot of ways. So I'm trying to, like, if I'm going to eat something sweet, it's going to be a premium kind of thing, just so that I don't feel as bad maybe at my indulgence. And I hadn't had it again. It had been, you know, the better part of a week since I had had it before. So I'm hurt that I have to now throw out this ice cream because, you know, putting it back in the refrigerator, it's not going to be the same. Like, you've pretty much lost the consistency of the thing you're looking for. Like, ice cream doesn't refreeze well. So I'm hurt, y'all. I'm hurt. And I know who it is. It's got to be Ra, right? I gather them all up and I say, who left my ice cream out? And he immediately drops his head because he knows he did it. And I was like, what did we tell you about eating ice cream? And he's like, to put it back in the freezer. Yes, we definitely told you to put it back in the freezer. And you didn't. At the very least, put it in a bowl, what you want to eat, and put the rest back in the freezer, because it's obvious now you're going to forget and leave it out. And my wife comes up and she's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I can't even actually be mad at him. This is actually justice. Because when I was a kid, I would sneak ice cream in the middle of the night and would leave the refrigerator open and ruin all kinds of food in the freezer. They'd come down and they'd find a spoon in there from where I like snuck some ice cream just because I wanted something sweet in the middle of the night, and they would leave the spoon and forget to close the freezer. So this is justice. This isn't just happening to me because, you know, the universe wants to hurt me. This is balance being restored to the universe. I lost $8 worth of ice cream, and I can't even be mad because it's genuinely just karmic balance. This has been another edition of House Hall Theater. Thanks for listening.
House Hall. We rise brilliantly.